Welcome everybody to Beyond 11. I am beyond excited to have my good friend Brad Davis on. We're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff, man. We're gonna run the gamut: music, pedals, effects, bands, touring, and all that stuff. But make sure ask Brad questions. We're going to answer anything and everything. Vote on the polls because we're going to have some cool stuff we're going to talk about, but we're going to definitely want to expand on those topics, so you can choose that, and we're going to have some giveaways. And hey, let's start the show right now. Yes, we're back with Brad Davis. Brad, thanks for being on, man.
Yeah.
I so appreciate it, man. Yeah. We have a couple of people. So Guitar Chad, heck yeah, I have a few of their albums. That's rad. Chase, right on. Hey yeah. Hey all. Hey, Guitar Chad, The Mongoose Flies, cool song. There you go.
I actually just played it wrong.
What's that?
I just played it.
You played. So I'm very stoked. Yeah, thanks for being on the show, Brad.
Yeah, no problem.
Bringing some cool stuff.
Excited to be here.
Yes, and we go back to this store called the Music House.
Yes.
Which was on El Toro, so Mission Viejo. El Toro and the 5, right? So that would be Mission Viejo? Think so.
Right next door to Tower Records.
Right next to, yeah, so Tower Records and the Music House. And some crazy famous people kind of came through there. Yourself, Taylor, and so you did, Taylor Hawkins.
Yes.
R.I.P., but Taylor was there. There was also Keith Berry, Tree, who was the saxophone player for the Chili Peppers. He was all over Mother's Milk record, and that was a crazy place.
And Robert Bolch.
Robert Bolch,
from Fu
yes,
Manchu.
from Fu Manchu. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in El Toro.
El Toro.
In the town, yeah.
So South County, El Toro, all the way. Go. What high school?
El Toro High School.
El Toro High School.
Yes.
Apropos, very, very cool.
Yes.
All right.
I do not acknowledge this Lake Forest.
No,
business.
It is
It's
El Toro.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Mock Bass, good morning. Thanks for joining, Fenderman. Here we go, right on. So we got some people watching and
right.
chatting.
What's
so
up?
ask some questions. Okay, what was your first? You play a lot of different instruments. You play guitar, bass, drums. You play them all. What was your first instrument?
Well, violin technically, which I played for just a couple months in kindergarten. Yeah, I guess I was probably showing some promise on that instrument, and then they started having us learn how to read staff, and they immediately lost me. And I didn't realize that I had any kind of musical inclinations until years later.
Oh, wow.
There was like a little keyboard organ thing appeared in my house, and I discovered that I could pick things out by ear. First song was Hall & Oates' Man Eater. I was like, do 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 do. Whoa, I can figure that out.
Which is cool. It's almost like you would think like Twinkle Twinkle, but you're talking a melody that kind of has some meat to it. You know,
it was on the radio
Yeah.
back then, so it kind of caught my ear. And messing around with that, I could pick that out. And eventually, once I got more into like 5th grade, 6th grade, I remember I became obsessed with the idea of getting specifically an electric guitar. I had to be an electric. And I feel like it might have been because of this bubblegum commercial that was really popular. Right around then, the Cars came out with the You Might Think I'm Crazy video that used that computer animation.
Yeah.
And it looked totally amazing back then and mind-blowing to me. But there was a bubblegum commercial that kind of aped that, where in one part of it, there's a girl sitting like on a chair or a couch with a guitar, and they have the amplifier in the same shot, and she like strums a chord, and I was like fascinated.
Whoa.
So I had to have an electric, and I got a hold of one, and the first thing I knew that I wanted to do was play Iron Man, which I did within like the first hour, and I was like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
But
So Sabbath, little Tony Iommi was the
always
yes.
still to this day
Still
obsessed.
But I have to look up, somehow I'm going to go on YouTube and I got to find that bubblegum commercial.
I found it, yeah.
You found it?
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Please send me a link.
It's funny, it's not exactly as how I remembered it in my head, but I recognized immediately the part with the guitar. Yeah, it was a red Strat copy from Schaefer and Sons.
Oh my God.
The piano store, actually, and they had one in Laguna Hills.
Okay.
We bought it off of a guy who was selling pianos there. Oh my God. Yeah, and then that eventually, like, in my teens, I first heard the Melvins, and hearing Dale Crover play drums, I had to get a drum kit. So drums was next.
Got it.
And I didn't really start playing bass until I joined Fu Manchu. They originally I was just going to fill in for some shows. I didn't own a bass, so I borrowed one, and then they asked me to join the band, and we played a show at the Roxbury. Yes, the Roxbury. Wow. And the bass that I had borrowed from a friend of mine got stolen at the show, so I was working in the music house by then, and I was like, I need a bass now. So I, work in a music store, like, why not grab the best bass that we have there? And it was the white G&L SB1 that I use to this day. I grabbed that, and it fit perfectly with the kind of tone that I wanted, and everything about it. I loved the tone, the playability. And I've used that basically to track every Fu Manchu record, except for a couple songs here and there. Ever since it just live and in the studio, it fits in perfectly with the balance of lows and mids and top end. It's just exactly what I want to hear.
That MFD pickup has a thing, and because it's set back a little bit further than a P bass, it just, like, you have this. This is the newest one you got. We just kind of put this one together, so that's Nitro SB1. A little newer, but
I like the wide neck for me.
1.5 inch, or no, 1 3/4. Sorry, 1 3/4. Yeah, so that's the new one, and that was what we put this like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, but yeah, and I think you've brought the white one in. You have another one too. You have 3. I think you have 3. Right?
I've had many throughout the years. Let me think. There was I've had 3 90s ones.
Yeah.
I've had 2 late 90s ones. I've got my main bass that I use live was built in 2007, and that's another one of my favorites.
Okay.
I'm thinking about retiring that one just because I love it so much. But it has the most astounding amount of natural low end just coming out of the instrument. If you put your ear up to like the horn and hit it, it's almost like deafening to your ear. It's just so much low end and so much sustain. I especially love that live to really get our lows out.
Yeah, you guys are. I love it. It's heavy, but it's rad. Let's see. Guitar Chad, coined by many as stoner rock. Was it true?
True in what sense?
I think I would probably say no, but I think maybe the heaviness of when somebody's high. I mean, I don't know. Like.
We never thought of that. We were just making music, based upon our influences. And there was, around that time, there was other bands that, started cropping up that had the same kind of, influences us and were exhibiting the same kind of influences, like Monster Magnet, came before us. I Hate God.
Red Fang, is that?
They came much later. This was
later.
like, we're talking like 93,
Got it,
94.
okay.
I mean,
okay.
The Fu Manchu started in 1989.
Okay.
And I joined 94, I believe. It could have been as early as 93, but I'm pretty sure it was probably around 94.
Yeah, that was another question. I was going to ask you, when did you join? Were you part of? So you were really early. early on with them. You've been with them for a long time.
It was probably around more like 1995 that
Okay.
we first started hearing that term, and it was something that was, journalists kind of concocted, probably
Yeah.
based upon just hearing the music.
Yeah, but because it really, I mean, it almost reminds me like if you I don't know, look at it like early Sabbath.
Yeah.
Like that to me is kind of like if I hear early Sabbath, I hear that heaviness. That's what it sounds like, just a new version of it, another version of, or because of the influence, that
Yeah.
was.
It's like, you have all the bands of the 70s
Yeah.
playing heavy metal,
Yeah.
and then the kind of rebelling against that with the punk and hardcore of the
Yeah.
late 70s and early 80s, and then once you get to where we are forming, we are drawing upon all of that influence wise, and it's not like we're playing punk music that's your reaction against establishment heavy metal. We like it all, so we putting together those kind of influences.
Yeah.
But I don't know if did I just dodge his question?
No, but I think that it was probably, like you said, like a journalist or somebody coined that phrase instead of like, hey, we're all getting super blazed and we're writing this. Like, no, not really. But maybe a journalist thing, or I don't know, a moniker that was made up by somebody writing an article or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't come up with it.
Yeah.
Somebody did. Although I wouldn't say that it's not entirely appropriate. But I mean, it's not like we're not writing songs about that. When you know, people tend to kind of project their own likes and dislikes on the music, and I often will see things where, like, especially with journalists, they'll be like, oh, this album's about chicks and weed and this, and if you actually literally look at the lyrics, there's none of that is like, it's all usually like car and lots of in jokes that we will never include anybody on.
Well, and that's the beauty of it's subjective. At the end, like, you either like something or you don't. The reasons you like it are going to be different for everybody. So I think it's a subjective thing. So Jay, let's see. What gave Fu Manchu such momentum? So many bands in your scene have died off, but I love that y'all are still touring.
I would say that it's in the band, we're lucky to be able to all get along and enjoy each other's company, and we get along personally and creatively. I'd say we're extremely lucky in that respect, and it makes it enjoyable to be together and to write music together and kind of enjoy the successes that we've had and continue to have. So that's where the momentum comes from. It's luck.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times, like you said, like it's like a family.
Yeah.
And there's going to be strife within families, and it's how you get through it.
We don't really seem to have any of that.
Which is great. You're like the Huey Lewis of, because I always look at Huey Lewis was always like, they're always happy and they're still playing and happy. So no, but the longevity is exactly. Chase, that's such a cool entry into bass, straight into the band. So did you any auditioning when you were getting into the band, or was it just kind of you just
no?
Okay.
I mean, well, they knew me. I was friends with everybody in the band because I had been playing in other bands around our area in Southern California, and other bands that I had played in. We had played shows together, so they knew who I was. I was friends with them. But what was
maybe just
my train of thought here?
No audition, just
the audition.
Who you knew the person? You knew him.
They basically Hill gave me a cassette that had demos of a lot of the songs that were on our Daredevil record, and I was familiar with the band. The first time I had heard Fu Manchu was when I was 17 years old. I was in a band, and they made me a compilation tape of various local bands, and they included the first Fu Manchu 7-inch on there. So I basically learned. You know, you gave me like this tape, and I don't think they expected me to learn all of it, but I learned everything. And we showed up to rehearsal, and like we played maybe like 3 or 4 songs, and they were like, "Oh, cool." And I was like, "You want to keep playing?" I learned all of them. And they're like, "Oh, you learned all of them." So, I mean, I guess they could glean from that
Yeah.
I, things were going to be easy.
Yeah.